now on the CTV News at 5. A junior girls football coach in Lethbridge is charged with making child pornography using artificial intelligence. Plus, police issue hundreds of tickets during the Street Machine weekend. And e-scooter injuries are ramping up.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. A junior football coach from Lethbridge has been charged after he allegedly used artificial intelligence to create child pornography. The Alberta Law Enforcement Response Team says it's one of the first cases in the province to see AI being used this way. Carson Marsouk reports.
She's always fired up. She's always eager to work, eager to learn.
That was longtime junior football coach Justin Tillery nominating another Lethbridge coach for an award in 2014. Now, 38-year-old Tillery is facing charges of making, distributing, possessing, and accessing child pornography. Police accuse him of using artificial intelligence to manipulate and sexualize photos of two underage girls.
This is, for now, incredibly rare. It's one of the first cases in Alberta and probably, if not Canada.
He was the junior football coach with the Lethbridge Rams and Football Alberta U18 women's team. The investigation began last December, but Alert would not say if the victims were on a football team.
You have a person in a position of trust or authority, like a teacher or a coach, with access to children. It's concerning for us, and this is why we're making these allegations known to the public.
Lethbridge Rams tells CTV News Tillery has not coached with the organization during the past year, but didn't say why. Football Alberta says he had been serving as a volunteer coach with the U18 female tackle provincial teams until he was arrested on July 16th. As AI continues to emerge, law enforcement says these types of cases are only going to become more common.
A lot of times parents are left with what could have been done differently. In this case, I don't think there's anything that could have been done. These were photos, who knows how they were posted or shared online with good intent, but to have those stolen from someone and being used and a sexual purpose, that's a worst nightmare scenario for parents.
Organizations like the Canadian Centre for Child Protection is calling on the federal government to ensure social media platforms and services are designed and have safeguards in place to deal with AI.
So if you're sharing images constantly online, well, then your kids might also adopt those same behaviors. So it's important to just think about the risks that are involved when you share images online, because as we see in this case and in other cases, sometimes there are people who don't have good intentions who will take advantage of that situation.
Alert seized a number of computers and electronic devices from Tillery's home. Police believe there may be more victims and are asking anyone to come forward. Carson Marsouk, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Tillery has been released on a number of court-imposed conditions, including a ban on coaching anyone under the age of 18. He is set to appear in court August the 8th. RCMP are warning about fake Xanax pills after a 16-year-old died in the Edmonton area. RCMP say the pills look like the anti-anxiety medication Xanax and have deadly amounts of a highly potent opioid in them. They have an Onyx imprint on one side, a number on the other. Police are asking parents to share the photos of the fake pills with their kids.
And even if you don't think that your child is capable of taking those pills, they're out there, they're being exposed. Our children are being exposed to these type of things, whether you like it or not. It's important that we just speak to them, educate them anyways, whether they're going to protect themselves or potentially a friend.
Edmonton police put out a similar warning about the deadly drug just last week. Lethbridge police are asking for the public's help finding a wanted 32-year-old man. Jonathan Janis is wanted on an outstanding warrant for breaching a conditional sentence order. Police are asking anyone with information on his whereabouts to come forward. Anonymous tips can also be submitted online or over the phone to Crime Stoppers. And Lethbridge police say the two men reported as missing have been located. Officers thank the public for their help finding Dakota and Tyson Oka. Lethbridge Police issued 286 tickets and 34 warnings for various traffic violations during last weekend's Street Machine Weekend. Police say the majority of tickets were related to stunting, speeding, and equipment violations. Officers also issued 2 immediate roadside sanctions, removed 1 impaired driver, towed 9 vehicles, and also laid 1 assault charge. Police say attendance for Street Machine Weekend continues to rise and is thanking the public for continuing to follow traffic laws. Legal Aid Alberta has a new 5-year agreement with the provincial government. Its board chair says the deal will strengthen the current model and make it responsive to the needs of Albertans. Last fall, the province began a review of legal aid. It spent more than $88 million to provide legal representation to low-income Albertans in the past fiscal year. All right, Gina Martin, just in time for the weekend. A big chunk of southern Alberta is under a severe thunderstorm watch.
Yeah, you can see that outline behind me here. Like you said, very large swath of southern Alberta involved in a severe thunderstorm watch right now. That includes us here in Lethbridge, close to the mountains there as well, and to the east of us. It's a very fast developing situation here, so we're tracking it as accurately as we can, but already seeing some convection push off the foothills there and track towards Lethbridge. So monitoring that closely. And we'll talk more about the potential for even some thunderstorm development later this evening as well. These things can happen very quickly. So if you have anything loose out in your yard right now, bring it in or make sure it's secured to the ground. Thunderstorm risk continues tonight and into tomorrow, Jackie. We'll have more on the weekend coming up.
All right. Thank you, Gina. Premier Danielle Smith is firing back after a report into last summer's devastating wildfires in Jasper criticized her government's response. The report, commissioned by the town of Jasper, surveyed firefighters and others who battled the flames. It says provincial interference hindered efforts by incident commanders, forcing them to spend time managing issues instead of fighting the fire. The premier is calling for an apology, saying she's disappointed the report didn't acknowledge the province's swift deployment of crews, emergency funding, and operational support.
At no point did they say they did not want our response, and so this report comes as a shot out of the blue. It's unfair, it's untrue, and I would like them to withdraw it.
Jasper is under federal jurisdiction, and Danielle Smith believes Parks Canada should have asked the provincial government for support sooner, saying they weren't asked to help until after the fire reached the town. The province says it's making changes to its Alberta Next online surveys. The surveys were launched 3 weeks ago to gather opinion on Alberta distancing itself from the federal government. But there wasn't an option to disagree with the provincial pension plan, police force, or tax collection agency. The UCP government says it's now offering a none of the above option because of feedback from this week's town halls. So far, 32,000 people have filled out the survey. The province says the results of the altered survey will be separated from the original survey results. The group that targeted Pierre Poilievre's Ottawa riding in the last federal election is at it again. More than 100 candidates are registered in Alberta's Battle River Crowfoot riding thanks to the longest ballot committee. The group floods ballots in protest of the first-past-the-post voting system. The by-election is scheduled for August the 18th. Now to an update from the MD of Willow Creek. The boil water advisory that was issued for the hamlet of Granham earlier this week has been lifted. The MD says the water has been tested and deemed safe for consumption. And some good news if you're planning on heading out to Enchant Municipal Park Pond. An issue of fecal bacteria has been resolved and the water quality advisory has been lifted there. Earlier this month, the city of Cranbrook was fined $175,000 for using contaminated dirt at a monster truck show, and now the city says the dirt was not contaminated. The dirt was used for a monster truck show back in February at Western Financial Place. WorkSafe BC investigated and found the dirt may have been contaminated with hazardous substances. In a statement released Monday, the city said it sent samples to the dirt to a lab for testing, and that test has found no contamination. The city is appealing WorkSafe BC's fine, but will pay it in the meantime to avoid interest payments. Settler Days is underway in the village of Sterling. Plenty of events are up for celebration for this weekend. The annual Summer Festival is planned by the Village and Community Events Committee. Events have been happening since Wednesday, with more happening this weekend. Tonight features bouncy castles, horses and wagon rides, and a movie in the community center. Tomorrow we'll see the parade, the car show, toonie swim, and fireworks at 11 to wrap up the festival. And Settler Days isn't the only festival happening this weekend. The Quonset Days Country Music Festival, that kicks off in Medicine Hat tonight. This marks the 15th year the festival has been held. As always, the festival is a fundraiser for ALS research. Since 2009, over $860,000 has been raised for the ALS Society of Alberta. A free shuttle service is available from Medicine Hat to the site, and tickets are still available. Gina is back with the weekend weather forecast when we return. We'll also take a look at the rising number of e-scooter injuries.
Welcome back. Your sky cam today facing southwest here. We got a good amount of sunshine throughout the morning hours and early afternoon, but a lot of change of foot this evening, and that daytime heating actually will add to the instability we're anticipating for tonight. So thunderstorm watch in effect for the Lethbridge area. Things could change quickly. That could turn into a warning just like that. 23 degrees right now, might get up to 24, but what I'm really keeping my eye on right now is the wind direction at the surface here. Coming out of the southeast right now. Keep that in your mind for a moment. We're going to come back to it. But first, just a look at what Environment Canada's storm outlook is like today. So the yellow moderate risk zone, that could involve, or the primary hazards with the storms today could be very strong winds, 90 kilometers an hour, and hail up to 5 centimeters in diameter. But you're probably noticing here in Lethbridge and the surrounding area, you're surrounded by this black circle. You're at an even stronger risk of stronger, faster winds and larger hail and even tornado development, because the winds right now at the surface are coming from the southeast, but the winds higher up in the atmosphere, they're coming out pretty fast from the northwest. So you can imagine they're going in different directions. That can create that rotation that is needed for thunderstorm development, on top of the instability and all that heat we dealt with today. So it lines up pretty well, that outlook, to the watches and warnings we're seeing right now. So as it stands, as we are looking at this, still under a watch for Lethbridge, but the radar satellite showing how fast these cells are pushing into the Lethbridge area here. So convection is already building, and then we have that wind that we're considering as well. So a lot is variable right now, and we're just going to have to wait and see. But this is your warning if you do have, again, loose objects outside or anything you don't want to get heavy rain on or strong winds or hail. Maybe bring it inside if you can, or cover it as best as you can. This is one more look here at those cells pushing in Fort Macleod area right now, but they're building that energy as they get closer. You can also see the difference between radar satellite and what our models can predict. And so right now it's showing not too much in this model here, but they can only predict so much with the math that they can compute. But it is showing a very strong chance of some active weather in Calgary this evening. I wouldn't rule Lethbridge out of that equation as well. And that's really going to be the ongoing story throughout the weekend. These embedded thunderstorm cells traveling through southern Alberta and circulating up into central Alberta, on and off from today really through until Sunday, and then even Monday and Tuesday we're expecting more sustained rain showers, maybe less of that thunderstorm potential, but still a good amount of rain. So it's basically a lot of these boards here saying the same thing, down to 14 in the East Kootenay tonight, up to 21 for tomorrow with that thunderstorm risk. Same story in the Crow's Nest Pass, down to 13 tonight with that thunderstorm risk tomorrow at a high of 20. And if you're joining us in Medicine Hat, guess what? Thunderstorm risk as well, down to 14, up to 24 with your high tomorrow. Keep an eye to the sky with those thunderstorm risks, and keep an eye out for watches and warnings as well. Like I said, thunderstorms possible for Lethbridge tomorrow with a high of 22. Chance of rain on Sunday, wouldn't rule out thunderstorms as well. And then a cool down up until Tuesday, but that sun finally returning and back in full force, getting us closer to seasonal on Wednesday.
There are 31 new cases of measles in Alberta. 5 are in the South Health Zone. The total case count is now over 1,400 since the outbreak began in March. Nearly 60% of those cases are in southern Alberta. 2 doses of the MMR vaccine is the best protection against the highly contagious and preventable disease. Alberta continues to have the highest per capita measles cases in all of North America. Injuries due to e-scooters are up across the country. The Canadian Institute for Health Information says in 2023-2024, there were almost 500 hospitalizations in Canada related to e-scooters. That's up 32% over the year before. In Alberta, injuries increased about 22%. The general manager of e-scooter company Bird Canada, which owns Lethbridge's e-scooters, says the number of people using e-scooters is accelerating much faster than the number of injuries.
What's really frustrating me about all this is that these are totally predictable and preventable injuries, and yet we continue to waste so much of our healthcare resources dealing with them when we really shouldn't have to be dealing with them.
Now, that doctor says users need to understand the risks that scrapes and broken bones may heal, but spine and head injuries, those can be life-changing. Doctors in the UK are celebrating what's being hailed as a major medical breakthrough. 8 babies have been born using DNA from 3 different people. Scientists combined the egg and sperm from a mom and a dad with a second egg from a different female donor. While the technique has been legal in the UK for decades, doctors now say they're seeing the first proof that the procedure prevents the transfer of mutated genes that could cause incurable disorders.
When you're talking about embryos, it will always be controversial for some people, but I would reassure people that a lot of thought and consideration has gone into this program. We are very respectful to the families involved, to the embryos involved, to the donors involved. Everyone is counselled and supported really well throughout this process.
Children born from this method inherit most of their DNA from their parents. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, we show you one of the coolest golf courses on the planet when we come back. Plenty of action across the WCBL last night. Here's a look at how the local teams made out. Lethbridge Bulls had a tough night against the league best Saskatoon Berries. The Bulls gave up 13 unanswered runs in the 13-2 loss. Medicine Hat had no problem racking up runs as they beat Moose Jaw 12-1. A pair of rematches on the slate tonight. Lethbridge will be looking for revenge against Saskatoon. Mavericks will look for another win against the Miller Express at home tonight. First pitch for both is 7:05. Lethbridge Hurricanes aren't done making moves. The club has dealt defenseman Tristan Doyle and an 8th-round draft pick in the 2026 year to the Saskatoon Blades. In exchange, the Hurricanes picked up 18-year-old forward Hudson Kibblewhite. They also picked up a first-round pick in 2029, along with a 4th-round pick and conditional 3rd. Doyle was drafted by the Hurricanes in the first round back in 2020. He'd played his entire junior career with the Canes up to this point. The BCHL has released its schedule for the upcoming season, and the Brooks Bandits now know when their title defense will begin. The Bandits season kicks off September the 19th on the road against the Spruce Grove Saints. October 12th to the 16th will be the BCHL's annual showcase. October 18th, the Bandits will face the Chilliwack Chiefs in a Fred Page Cup final rematch. The regular season wraps up March 29th before playoffs start on April the 3rd. Hockey fans and players in Ontario were starstruck when 2 of the world's greatest players stepped on the ice for a beer league game. Edmonton Oilers captain Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl took part in a game in McDavid's hometown of Newmarket on Wednesday. Despite having a pair of NHL All-Stars, TSN says their team lost 6-2.
What was it like to officiate a game with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl sharing the ice?
Honestly, it's incredible to see them coming down the ice. It's nothing like you ever see in minor hockey.
It's just really cool to be on the ice with them, just kind of starstruck at the end of the day as well.
Are you guys shocked they didn't put up more goals?
That goalie stood on his head out there, so not too shocked actually.
McDavid and Draisaitl will be back for the Edmonton Oilers season opener when they host the Calgary Flames. A Calgary-based rally car team is gearing up to compete in 2 of the most grueling off-road races on the planet, and it's proudly bringing the Canadian flag with it. The Gear Shop Technical Motorsport team has qualified to compete in the Morocco Rally this year and the Dakar Rally next year, events known for their extreme challenges and grueling terrain. The team earned their spot earlier this year after a second-place finish with their 2023 Ford Bronco at the Sonora Rally in Mexico. The team has recruited a veteran Dakar manager, a former leader of Mitsubishi's factory rally team, who agreed to guide them through the world's toughest race.
On the phone, I said, look, you ever watch this movie called Cool Runnings? And he's like, I love that movie. I'm like, well, we're kind of like that, but we're going the other way. We're going for a cold climate to hot desert, and we don't know what we're doing. And he said, I love the challenge. I'll take you on. This is truly a Canadian-wide project, and we're hopeful that the Canadian flag on the car is really going to show around the world.
The team is now preparing to ship their vehicles still sporting an Alberta license plate to Morocco this fall, with plans to represent Canada on the global stage in January of 2026. Now, this might be the coolest golf course in the world, or at least the coldest.
It is probably the most innovative and cool golf I've ever done, and I have golfed all over the world.
Golfers swapped greens for ice at the inaugural North Pole Clock Golf Championship last week. Participants played something called clock golf, where players putt from numbered points arranged in a circle. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, the heartfelt inspiration of a dog with no eyes. That story next. Now to the story of an Abbotsford, BC dog named Stevie, who's winning hearts and proving you don't need sight to find purpose or to spread love. Adam Swatsky reports.
When Chris Strickland first met Stevie at a barbecue fundraiser for an animal rescue group, he could see that she couldn't.
The initial reaction is always, oh, like, so sad. They always feel so bad.
Stevie had been dropped off at the rescue because of her eyes, so Chris and his fiancée Jen decided to foster the puppy until he could find a forever home.
Super sweet, very affectionate, just wanted to be loved.
Turns out Stevie was suffering from a disease that made her blind since birth, caused pain ever since, and could only be remedied by removing both eyes.
It was a long process, obviously, to kind of go through that.
So Chris and Jen committed to care for Stevie during her months-long recovery from surgery, while the rescue worked to rehome her.
We grew way too attached. As you can see, it's not hard.
The couple's other dogs had fallen in love with Stevie too, so they decided to adopt her.
We don't let her disability define her. We wanted her to explore, discover. We didn't want to hold her back.
Not that they could have, if they tried.
All of our other pack members were middle-aged, and all of a sudden we had a young puppy.
A can-do kind of canine, who confidently figured out how to do all sorts of active things on her own, from charting her own path on hikes to becoming a passionate paddleboarder.
She is so full of life.
And so full of compassion, too, that Stevie also volunteers as a therapy dog for people overwhelmed working in hospitals and businesses.
She cuddles them much like she's cuddling me right now. You kind of see the tension and the stress just melt away.
And after Chris inevitably shares Stevie's story, they're left unquestionably inspired, like he and Jen were.
Taught both of us not to have a disability kind of define you, that you can overcome adversity.
And that even if you lose your sight, you can still gain the vision to live your life to the fullest. Adam Swatsky, CTV News, Abbotsford.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.